Welcome to the Diaries of Anxious Black Mom. I'm your host, Salam Miscano. Every week, I and my occasional guest share personal journeys in work, self-improvement, relationships, all with a lens of personal experiences of being a Black mom. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Today is morning of September 21st. It's a Monday. We can finally breathe outside and not be scared and get headaches and all that, because the fires have improved, and thank God for all the people that were, very heavily impacted by the fire. I'm wishing them all the best and recovery, and I know some lives were lost even, so it's just kind of crazy to imagine that, just because I think as an immigrant, that's not an image of America that I would have ever thought, like forest fire and people dying from fire, that's so crazy to me, but it is a reality, and life is complicated, and I don't really actually know a whole bunch about the fire and how it works and why it happens. I know what I've heard about it being related to drought, which is then related to climate change, and then also specific kind of environmental policies that have been out there. So that high level I know, but I don't know a lot about it and the science and the policies that led to it. But either way, I hope that folks will recover, and they will. Things pass. It's just that, just imagine that people were already being impacted by COVID-19 and all of the other stuff that we've been kind of dealing with in 2020, and then to have the fire kind of destroy your community, homes, and even lives, it's really quite traumatic. So I hope that they recover and take care, that passes for them. That being said, our smoke is in Seattle, which was being impacted a lot, has improved, thank God. So we were able to go outside. We even took Abim outside yesterday, and we got to play, and we had some clear air, so that was really nice. And Jonas and I were just saying how we feel better, because I think we actually got to spend more than 2 minutes outside, and wasn't scared of the air, so that really helps. So the little things nowadays, the basic things, are things that you really need, and so we're grateful for that. But what I really wanted to talk about today in this podcast is the privilege of liking your work, loving your work, loving your craft, whatever that is, whether that craft you are doing to sustain yourself financially or not, or however way you do that, what the privilege is of being able to enjoy what you do, or try to excel in it. I think growing up in my family and just in my community where I grew up in Ethiopia, people didn't do necessarily work for the pleasure of it. It was more like you did work because you had to, and then you use that money to actually do the things you really wanted to do, which might be with your family, or whatever that looks like for you. Our community is very social, and that's a really important part for all of us. So that's kind of how I grew up thinking about work, is that you do work to make money, so that or to produce something so you could be with your family, right? There's not a lot of concept of oh, I love what I do, and there is some of that, and I think there's a lot more of it now than when I was growing up, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But I think definitely moving to the US, and from the very young age, I remember when I moved here, we were in high school, and people ask you they ask you, what do you want to be? And it's not that's just, I don't know, it is kind of, there's already a lot of expectation about what you're supposed to do as a job, and how that is going to be a really defining moment for who you are as a person. So what you end up doing as a job is going to really matter for who you are as a person, not beyond just kind of like how much money you make, which is, of course, is going to have a big impact for that too. But, you know, like whether you get into public service versus like private, you know, whatever, right? But the idea that like if you're a doctor, you are somehow superior and maybe more worthy or valuable than some other, you know, if let's say you were a nurse or something, right? Like there is a lot of value put into what you do, right? So I don't agree with that, and I am starting to critique my own life around that and kind of like trying to figure out like why does it matter to me what title I have or how much money I make, besides the fact that like those things do have real life consequences for how I can raise my family, things like that. But beyond that, in terms of how I might be using it to define who I am as a person, that seems like a dangerous path, because, you know, I've talked about this in a different podcast, but like I think specifically when I talked about Black women and equal pay issues, well, if the world doesn't value your labor the same way, then you might start to also equate that with how you need to value yourself as a human being. And so that's really dangerous. So I am trying to learn how to separate those two things, my identity, who I am at core, versus what the title of my job is or whatever, or how much money I make, and in like how I am compared to other people in the marketplace, in the job marketplace, right? So all of that being said, at the same time, I do think that there's a part of me that doesn't think about work the same way that the people around me did when I was growing up, which is that you just use it to make money. I like to think that the work I'm doing is beyond that, how I'm spending my time, my labor is really a way I'm expressing my values. So like the fact that I work in public service, the fact that I look for organizations that, you know, have a stated goal of racial equity. And I've been very lucky, I think that's the best word I can come up with, to have had mostly women of color, specifically Black women, as my supervisors and mentors throughout my, you know, last like 10 years since I graduated undergrad. And so I've always had that, and it has to do with the sector I'm in, the field I'm in, because I'm in public service, I'm in public health, I'm in like social work. So it's like, it makes sense why that there just tends to be a concentration of more of people of color and women of color in general in those fields. So that being said, you know, I've been lucky in that way. But either way, I think that I do think of my job as a way that I am spending my time, and then that means that it's like how I am playing out my values. And I realize that that's a privilege, because many people are in situations, and when I say many people, even many people in my own life, in my own personal life, and in my community, who don't have that choice, who don't have the ability to pick and choose like what organization they want to work for and whatnot. They just take the job there's available that would take them, you know. And so I realized that in this consumerism, capitalistic world that we live in, I do have some privilege that's granted to me because of the fact that I have a college degree and I have master's degrees, you know. I speak fluent English mostly and whatever, right? Like and the fact that I live in the US, that I am a US citizen, all of these things, and even the fact that I live in an urban environment in Seattle, all of these things matter for the fact that like it allows me to have some say in where I work and what work I do and how I do it. And I can't say that for everyone in my personal life, where they might believe in social justice and whatnot, but you know, how is that gonna matter if where like the choices they have is jobs that those are the things that they're going to take them, and they need to do the work in order to live. And even though I say to myself that yes, I recognize that privilege that I have, I also realize the limitations of that privilege, because even me, there are times that I would prefer to work in different environments or organizations or whatever, but you have to make that comprehensive analysis of healthcare coverage, job stability. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that I'm also making, of course, but I recognize that I definitely have more of that privilege than many other people, and for that I'm grateful, and for that I'm also trying to figure out how to share some of that privilege with other people, and I don't always know what that means, because I'm still kind of early in my career, and I'm not a rich person, but those are the things I think about, like what is the thing people actually really want to do if they had the choice, and then what is the thing that they have to do because they have to live, and they have to match themselves with what's available in the marketplace, and the way that the marketplace values them, they have to fit into that, right? And so that's just what I wanted to talk about, and it's just an idea, or it's just maybe not an idea, but like it's something that I'm starting to clarify for myself, and I'm curious what you guys think. So I know some of you guys have already been emailing me ideas and thoughts about some of my episodes, and I really appreciate it. My friend Andrea, thank you so much. It was awesome to hear from you and to hear your reflection of some of the topics in the podcast. I appreciate you for listening, and miss you, and hope to see you and talk with you soon. But yeah, if you all want to write to me, my email is anxiousblackmom@gmail.com. I have an Instagram account as well for the podcast, so if you prefer to do Instagram, you can go follow me there and let me know, how do you feel about the marketplace, and do you feel like you have the privilege of choosing what to do, or how much of it do you think is limited by the way that the market or the capitalism then values you? I know it's kind of, maybe it can feel like kind of a personal question, so I don't know, just, you don't have to answer, of course, but it's just something that I guess reflect on it yourself, even if you don't want to share, because I think it is interesting to kind of get deep in that way. But I hope you all have a great Monday and a great week in general, and I will be talking with you guys very soon, next week. And so talk to you soon, and have a great day. Bye.